It doesn't take a genius.
Ramsey!
Mr. Marshall, hello again. Are we?
Fantastic to see you. It seems like so long. I can't believe you're wearing the same clothes.
It's almost like we recorded this. It doesn't even feel like yesterday, does it?
It does it. It feels very, very fresh.
Like maybe 5 minutes ago.
Well, and let's think about the logic behind that. So
Yep.
in the previous episode, part two, we mapped out the focus on the wildly important, your wig, and act on lead measures.
Yep.
And then we stopped the video. And the reason is you should go work on that before you watch this video.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured out what your wig is and what your lead and lag measures are, this part probably isn't going to help you all that much. So figure those things out. And then the next two disciplines of execution, which these two are my absolute favorites,
Yeah.
will become wildly important to you as we talk about them.
Well said. Well said. So we talked about in the last episode the rules of the game. So if you're ready to start this episode, you have some rules to the game. You have a wildly important goal, and you have some lead measures you're going to act on to achieve that goal. And now it's time for discipline number 3, which I have seen PowerPoints that you have put together that just have example after example after example. The discipline is keep a compelling scoreboard. So here we are talking about quickly identifying, are we winning? We've set a game. Now we're going to identify, are we winning? So talk about the what makes a compelling scoreboard? What makes a good scoreboard?
Well, I think a great example of a scoreboard, the one that I use when I'm talking to clients, is the United Way. And so in most towns, you have the United Way, and they have these thermometers.
Yeah.
And they have, in the old days, it was a banner that was posted on the town square. Now they do billboards. And
Right.
so all you have to do is look at a good United Way thermometer, their fundraising, and on it you see typically has the goal. And so it's got some number at the top of the thermometer, says we're going to raise X number of $1 million. And then it has the date, the deadline. It says we're going to do this by December 31st. And then ultimately, who it is from the standpoint of it's the United Way. Where that what they're doing with their money and all the good causes they serve. And then they show you how many people have given. How much money has been contributed to that goal. And then to me, my favorite part is the gap. So how much is left to go?
Yeah.
And so you think about this and you think, well, why do they put, this scoreboard should be at the United Way headquarters? Why do they show it to the public? And then my teams will sit about it and I'm like, how many times does the United Way come to this, to your place of work, and come to your store, and they ask for a meeting with the employees, and they talk about what they do, and they ask them to contribute a little bit of, each week to the United Way? The reason people participate is because they gotten all that information off the scoreboard.
Right.
I know what you're doing, where you're going. I know how far you got to go, and I know how I can help you close that gap.
Right.
And people tend to gravitate towards that. So that is a wonderful example of a scoreboard.
It took you about 20 times longer to explain that scoreboard than it does to look at that scoreboard and immediately get the nuggets that you need to get from that scoreboard as a quote unquote player, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the beauty of a scoreboard. You just look at it and go, oh, we're green today. Oh, we're above the group average today, whatever the number is that you've decided to track,
Oh yeah. You're at the stoplight, you look over, you instantly know everything you need to know about what they're trying to achieve.
Now, this doesn't have to look fancy either, right? I mean, I don't know how much the United Way spends on a billboard, but I've seen scoreboards in an office that are just scrawled on pieces of paper.
Oh yeah. Don't underestimate the power of a poster board, the magic markers. What I've also found interesting in that every organization that I've ever dealt with, there's somebody in that organization that is fantastically skilled at graphic stuff. You rough out a scoreboard and they'll go make it just beautiful. So if you're worried about aesthetics, then I guarantee there's somebody in your organization that can do that. And so the key here is figure out, okay, what do we put on a 4 disciplines scoreboard? And so on a 4 disciplines scoreboard, the lag measure will always be there. We've talked about that. That's an easy number to come by. What we want to track are the activities.
Yeah.
What are the activities that are going? How are we doing? How are we progressing on those? And that can be down to each individual team member.
Yeah.
So each individual team member committed to making 3 outbound calls a week. And we'll look at the scoreboard and we can see, Joe's doing this, Susie's doing that, Bob's doing that. And so ultimately, that's what's important.
That's what makes it compelling is here's literally what we've done to achieve that goal, and is it working?
Exactly. And so it goes back to, like we talked about in part 2, we know everybody's kicking in the same direction. So we've decided that these are the activities we need to do, and now we can see how everybody's doing as we make progress towards those activities.
Yeah.
And whether it's appointments or whatever it might be. And the scoreboard needs to be the type where it gets updated, right? Whether you put little stickers on it or you color it in with a marker, nobody cares. It just you need to be able to show progress towards the goal. And you see this with the United Way. I mean, it used to drive me crazy. The United Way thermometer in my hometown was on a piece of plywood on the town square, and they'd paint in a little more red on the thermometer, and it seemed like they had like 8 different colors of red. I'm like, why didn't you use the same can of paint the whole way up? But it doesn't matter, right? Because human beings need to see progress towards goals, and it's a scoreboard. The other thing that's great about the scoreboard is that it is a visual reminder, because a lot of people keep spreadsheets, right? I'm going to keep all the outbound calls. I'm keeping it in a spreadsheet in my computer. Well, unless it's a shared document, and even that doesn't work. So the shared document, everybody can go look at it, but how many people will, right? And then the scoreboard also is a symbol of your focus. Right? When we're caught up in the whirlwind and we're all swept up, the scoreboard stands there kind of mocking you, going, this is what you said was important.
Yeah.
This is what you said that we should be doing. And so the scoreboard is this visible, tangible reminder of what you set out to do. And it's not buried in the 1700th tab in your computer.
Right. So the managers, the leadership may have a dashboard that's tracking all sorts of metrics that are all important, but they're not wildly important. They're not what the team needs to have as their focus, and that's what we put on the scoreboard. So that's a great summary.
But look at the sports analogy. So everybody thinks that the scoreboard is there for the fans.
Right.
But if you look, every scoreboard is also visible to the players and to the coach. So we're in Indiana and Kentucky, so basketball is a big deal. How frustrating would it be as a player if every time I needed to know the score or how much time was left or how many fouls we had, I had to run over to the bench.
Yeah.
How much time's left? What's the score?
Right.
Up or down? No, the scoreboard is there. So as I'm literally in the game, bringing the ball down the court, I can glance up and I have all the information I know that allows me as the player to become self-coaching.
Yeah.
If we're down by 2, I know exactly what I need to do. I know how much time is left. And so, if as a team, if you've taught me properly, I should be, as a team member, able to adjust my game based upon the information that is available to everyone. And it's not hidden behind a computer tab or an office or a door where I have to go ask permission to see the data.
Great point. And the fact that it can be seen just shows that this is where it starts to get real. The first 2 let me try that again. The first 2 disciplines were mental exercises, in a sense. Now we're actually putting the stake in the ground in front of others. We are committing to this. And that leads us into the discipline that is where the rubber really meets the road, which is the 4th discipline: create a cadence of accountability. A cadence of accountability. This is the scary part. So, I say scary, but this is where you see real fruit. You're going to give updates on the commitments that you have made in a previous meeting. You're going to review that scoreboard and see where the numbers are right now, and then talk about that and make commitments for the meeting in the next week. I say every week. Different organizations may do this a little bit differently, but you're kind of looking at past, present, and future. present, here's where the scoreboard stands now. Past, did we do what we said we were going to do? Future, here's what we're going to do to take it to the next level next time we get together around this scoreboard and look each other in the eye.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the great thing, a couple other rules for this meeting is that nothing else gets discussed at this meeting.
Yeah, no whirlwind.
Except the wildly important goal. And,
Right.
and so, and the things that we talked about, the lead and lag measures and our commitments and that type of thing. And if you'll just make that rule, right?
Mhm.
This meeting, I know that we need to talk about, updating the bathrooms, and I know we need to talk about the marketing campaign for next month and all of, and you do need to talk about those. You just don't need to talk about them at your what we call WIG meetings.
Right.
So when you're having a WIG meeting, it is completely focused on that wildly important goal. It's focused on updating the scoreboard. Another piece that I always add to this is celebration.
Mm.
So as we're updating the scoreboard, and so, Bob made a commitment to make 3 outbound calls. He did 4 last week.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to stop and celebrate the heck out of that. All right,
Yeah.
Fantastic. How'd you find time to make that fourth visit? Things like that. So we want to celebrate the heck out of that. We update the board. We color in our thermometer a little bit. All right, this is moving us where we want to go. And then ultimately, all right, so what do we commit to this coming week? And when you think about it, that makes sense, because in this coming week, things could be different. Don't forget, Bob's going to be gone for 2 days. Susie's got a training class that's going to take her out for a half day. So that'll cause some people to have to shift. And so maybe your lead measures, your activities should change a little bit based upon the reality. Okay, the week after, we're going to be fully staffed. Everybody's going to be here. And so we should be able to get more of these activities done. And so this weekly cadence of only talking about the thing that is wildly important it's so simple, but it is so powerful when done.
And it's a discipline. I mean, it truly takes a little bit of effort to make this a habit where you just focus on the one thing. Dumb question: who should be in that meeting?
Everybody who's got an impact on the lead goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I invite, I also invite the store owners, owners, management, 2 or 3 levels up.
Yep.
I think that gives the meeting gravitas. And a lot of times, as the leader, right, I'll say, as the leader of that department, invite somebody higher up to the meeting. They don't have to do anything. They just stand in the back of the room and go, cool.
Yeah.
They don't have to come with a presentation. They don't have to come to do anything. Just let everybody know that what's being worked upon and here's what we're committing to. And it's important because somebody 2 or 3 levels up in the organization is there as well.
I love that.
The other thing that I do is if I'm working with folks like myself, outside vendors, clients, consultants, things like that, I want them to know. Right. Mm-hmm. Same with the scoreboard. I want the people who I'm working with, maybe who aren't in my department, to also know what we're working on, and so they can look at the scoreboard. They can see that Bob overachieved on his activities last week, and then I hopefully, if it's a great organization, they will proactively say, hey, Bob, I saw the scoreboard, man, you killed it last week, great job.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that no matter who you are. You could be a customer walking by and go, wow, that Bob's killing it.
Right.
That guy's great. Hey, so everybody can get involved and celebrate and see when we're behind, see when we're ahead, see when we're on track, and see what needs to be done next.
I had an organization that was working on improving customer service scores recently, and they talked about setting up this accountability meeting, as they were calling it. And it was a sales floor at a car dealership. And one of the sales managers said, well, you look at our survey scores, when you do the diagnosis, our problems are time to get to the finance manager and get the car financed, and the vehicle's cleanliness. We don't have finance managers in the room, and we don't have our detail personnel in the room. We've got to get them in here. So the ownership is from a lot of different places that might have impact on that number.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you may have a lead goal of a specific time frame from when the customer says yes to when the product is cleaned and ready for delivery.
Yeah.
You see this in fast food places all the time. You place your order, and they'll hand you the bag, and they'll touch a button.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're timing the amount of time it took from the when the order was entered to the time that the bag was handed to you. And they're constantly meeting to figure out, okay, how can we streamline this? How can we make this go faster?
Yeah.
And so they're they may have this wildly important goal of a great customer experience, and they've boiled it all down to that people are really value their time, and if we can make that time shorter, they will value the experience more. And so they've chosen that. You can see them tracking it, measuring it, and that type of thing.
Your example is really interesting because you're pressing the button for yourself, right? Like you're competing against the clock for yourself. So this is something we are now playing the game. Now that we're into the the third and fourth discipline, we are playing the game and getting to see the results as we go, which is fun. I mean, it's fun if you're doing this the right way.
Well, we used to do this as an example, and I'd stand up in front of the group and say, all right, so here's what I wanted you to do. I want you to, in the evening, I'm going to hand you this 16-pound object, and I need you to throw this 16-pound object. I need you to throw it 20 times, about 60 feet. And who's with me? Nobody wanted to do that. I said, all right, well, who wants to go bowling? Well, yeah, I'll go bowling. Yeah, that's fun. All right, so what's the difference between throwing this 16-pound object down the lane, right, and going bowling?
That's hilarious.
The difference is the scoreboard, right? The feedback, the accountability, right?
Yeah.
I get instant measures. I can see what happens. And because I have this feedback and this accountability and the scoreboard and all these things, it turns it into a game.
Right.
Whereas without those things, it is literally just what we refer to, in not a good way, of just work.
Right.
Just a task. So The Great Game of Work as a book, I'm not even sure it's still in print, but years ago that was probably the precursor to this. But yeah, if we can turn this into a game and all the elements of that, then people respond better, and we can make this fun. My last story on this, my daughter, one of her requirements for growing up was, she didn't have many, but one of them was that she stay with her piano. She keep taking piano lessons, and it's only because I've heard so many people in adulthood say, the one thing that I wish my parents had encouraged me to do was stay with the piano. I thought, all right, we're not going to have that problem. So she sits down to practice the piano, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching her, and I know nothing about music. She plays some notes, and then I give feedback. I sound pretty good. I recognize that one. I knew what you were playing, right? That's all I had, right? So she played the piano for a while, and then she gets up and she says, "Can I be done?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can be done." And I said, "What are you gonna do?" She goes, "I'm gonna go downstairs and play Guitar Hero." Like, what? So she goes down. I follow her downstairs. Those of you who haven't played Guitar Hero, right? You basically, you got this fake guitar and you have to hit these notes. But what's interesting is the feedback mechanism on this thing.
Yeah.
And so you've got for every note you hit, you create a streak.
Yeah.
Right? You got 20 in a row, 21, 22, 23. Every note that you hit flashes.
Right.
So you get feedback on each individual activity. You get feedback like that. And then you've got, here's your high score, so you're getting closer to your high score. And then there's an auditorium of people on the screen. And the better you play and the longer your streak, right, they get louder. You're rocking and the place is going crazy. And I'm watching this. I'm going, there's 7 different, feedback scoreboards here.
Right.
And no wonder she's, playing the piano. You've got me giving this subjective, sounding pretty good. And I can go downstairs and everything I do, every activity, I'm getting feedback on, and a stadium full of people are cheering for me.
That's so good.
Like, what the heck? So when you think about, like, if you're a leader and you're leading these younger people, this is the type of feedback, this is the type of scoreboard, this is the kind of updates that they are used to. The closer you can get to that, the better, the more engaged these people will become. When I was in Little League, we had the Bad News Bears. You had one coach. He wasn't always sober. Now you look at it, you look over my daughter's soccer team, you got a coach and 3 assistants.
Yeah.
they're getting coaching and feedback, and they're keeping stats and stuff like that. These young people are used to so much more information, and so much information that's just right at their fingertips, that the 4 disciplines of execution, while it wasn't designed for this, speaks incredibly well to this younger generation of worker.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many stories that's a good way to end our little jaunt here through the 4 disciplines. Is the millennials, the feedback mechanisms that are in organizations right now that are really studying this. I mean, it's like after some big accounting firms, after every single client interaction, there's your boss sending you something saying, here's what I noticed about what you did, something formal. Just little bits and pieces, lights going off on the screen like in Guitar Hero. And what we're talking about doing here is getting into that cadence with your game that you've decided to play at work. So making it fun. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mike. So I think we have talked this out. This is something that is near and dear to your heart and mind. So we would strongly encourage anybody who wants to sort of tease more out of this. Of course, read the book, but reach out to us. We love talking about this. And if we can help you get some ideas about what to do for your organization, we'd love to do it. So I guess it's time for a snarky announcer.
Yes, let's let it happen. And what we like about him is he's accountable. He does it every single time.
It's true.
So, whether you like him or not, you have to admire his consistency.
And there you have it, another session of contemporaneous extemporizing from Mark and Mike. I know it's redundant, but consider who we're talking about. As always, feel free to share the ideas you heard here. No rights are reserved, no permissions needed. Thanks. See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.